Alright, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Tornado Tony Pacquiao.
And Psychic Tom Daniel. Tarot cards laid out, ready to predict.
Today I'm coming to you straight out of the forest. It's that kind of a day. I just splitting wood about an hour ago. So, yep, very important show because we have so much to talk about. Very big events, big in boxing and big in the UFC this week. Saturday, ESPN Plus will be debuting the UFC with Dillashaw versus Henry Cejudo for the double belt. However many times this happened now, fourth time now. Fourth, yes. So, we'll see what happens there. We're going to talk about that in depth. And, of course, we're going to talk about whether the problem, Adrian Broner, is going to be an issue for Manny Pacquiao. So those are the big stories, but we got plenty of other shenanigans to talk about. Former guest of ours, Chris Lytle, had an interesting interview published recently. But anyway, some of those quotes about going over to bare knuckle boxing in particular are pretty crazy. How hard was it to retire from the sport on a win was one of the questions asked him. He said, when I did that, I didn't really know anyone else who ever did that. I decided beforehand I was going to retire no matter what, win, lose, or draw. You always want to go out and win. I was able to do everything I could to make myself win that fight. I was able to win it. Sometimes you feel like you're still going out, leaving money on the table, so to speak. I won 5 out of my last 6 fights. It wasn't a typical thing. Most people lose like 5 in a row, get knocked out a bunch, and they quit. That wasn't the case with me. I felt like I was fighting better than any point in my career. The difference was being a father of 4. I kind of realized I was being a full-time firefighter and a full-time fighter and having 4 kids. Something was going to be neglected, and typically that was my kids. Then I kind of got a chance to revisit that and look into that and started feeling guilty. Something has to give. I like going to work at the fire department. It's going to be here longer. I love fighting, but I had to stop. So I did that. I retired. Luckily for me, this bare knuckle boxing came back. I always wanted to have more boxing matches, and I figured out a way to make it where I train when my kids are at school now, and I can have the best of both worlds. So anyway. So yeah, we talked to him about working at the fire department and all that too when we had him on the show. And we talked a little bit about his boxing record too. And if you remember, at one point during one of our broadcasts, back when the Floyd Mayweather versus an MMA fighter debate was going on, McGregor signed on the dotted line, Chris Lytle was trying to fight Floyd. Put his hat in the ring. But didn't get covered by too many people. But some news outlets did. Anyway. Is it safe to say that your MMA career is behind you at this point? He said, yeah, it sounds funny. I remember when people were asking me, well, you're doing some bare knuckle boxing, you coming back to the UFC? I was like, no, bare knuckle is easier. They're like, what? You gotta understand by easier, I mean the training is easier. I go in there, hit the mitts for a little bit, shadow box, spar, maybe I hit the bag, that's it. In MMA, that's like the first quarter of your practice. You gotta grapple and do kickboxing, you gotta do wrestling. So much harder on your body, so much more time commitment. Like I said before, I'm not willing to not be a dad anymore. And he said he doesn't really like trash talk in the sport. Conor McGregor style stuff. So anyway. He says, when he was asked how many more of these events would you like to do, he said, I don't know. I told somebody the other day I know how different I am. I tell people I'm just doing this for fun. I'm 44 and I love doing this. They go, what? Bare knuckle boxing for fun? I said, yeah. And I started thinking, that doesn't sound good. I'm doing bare knuckle boxing because I enjoy it. That doesn't sound great. So as long as it's fun, I might keep doing it. He's going to be in Cancun, Mexico on February 2nd for his next fight, Bare Knuckle FC 4 against JC Lamas. By the way, you might hear in the background some cat chattering.
Okay.
The female is in heat, so. Fortunately, the brother does not want to mess with the sister, so he hasn't figured it out yet. They're getting to be that age, unfortunately. Gotta do something. Anyway. Tyson is not the Tyson we know of as far as his appetite for that kind of stuff. He's too young. Frank Mir in the news here. He's going to make his pro wrestling debut in April. It's an MMA fighting here. Interesting choice for the guy who likes to do TRT. So, 39 years old. It was announced on Friday. He's going to be debuting for actually Josh Barnett as a wrestling company. I didn't know this. Bloodsport, a unique version of pro wrestling for a show that takes place on April 4th in Jersey City, New Jersey at White Eagle Hall. The date is part of the biggest pro wrestling week of the year, as companies from around the world will be holding events in New York and New Jersey in the days prior to WrestleMania on April 7th at MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey.
So does this mean that Mir is done with Bellator?
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be doing like guest commentary, and he'll probably try to come back for one more fight. But remember, Bellator has open-ended contracts. You know, what's his name? King Mo was doing pro wrestling. I'm not sure he still is, but he was doing pro wrestling at the same time he was doing Bellator, and they did a whole reality series on it, or a show. One show.
Does Mir have an opponent?
And I think Mir is still suspended, isn't he, for his last fight? Did he test positive for something in his last fight? So he's probably suspended from that. Anyway, he got knocked out. So I didn't hear about the drugs, but he got knocked out, so that would put him on automatic suspension for a while. Right. Well, Bloodsport here is a staged but very stiff and more realistic-looking version of pro wrestling, according to this article. It's going to be held on elevated mats with no ropes, based on the fighting surface in the 1988 martial arts movie Bloodsport. His style itself was somewhat based on the old UWFI pro wrestling promotion that was popular in Japan in the early 90s, which Barnett liked when he was growing up. It's based on hard strikes and submissions, and without playing to the crowd or using moves that don't work in a real fight like most versions of pro wrestling. So it's like a dramatic form of simulated fighting. So, anyway. First Bloodsport event took place last April in New Orleans as part of WrestleMania week and featured former UFC fighters Matt Riddle, Tom Lawler, and Dan Severn, as well as Japanese MMA pioneer and Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame Minoru Suzuki. So, first move for Mir to pro wrestling. He's competed in submission grappling before. But that's it. Frank Mir. I wonder what his stage name will be.
I think I would do like something like Ken Shamrock. Just maybe get something like a title, like when they call Ken Shamrock the world's most dangerous man. Mm-hmm. I could see him doing something like that.
The world's most dangerous Frank?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe they can show some films of this armbar from Talent with Tim Sylvia.
Yeah.
When it turned Sylvia's arm into a Banana Frank armbar. They'll have to come up with some angle for that.
I'm sure he's on a heavy regimen.
It was like the man of like 1,000 submissions or the greatest submission expert ever, Frank Mir, something like that.
Yeah, that was one of the worst armbars I'd ever seen. I mean, that was just sickening.
Right. All right. So I guess that's really the last big story I had there. Last week. Big fight week in boxing is obviously Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian the Problem Broner. And if you know anything about boxing and you follow Broner's career, you know he's a copycat of Floyd Mayweather. So Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather have had discussions, officially admitted discussions about a follow-up fight, and it hasn't been publicly mentioned by Floyd that he promised Manny that he would do it, that they would get it done. So,
you know, it was funny. You guys fight this weekend, and a report that I heard the other day. I forget if I saw it online. One of my boxing friends on Facebook may have posted it. I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head. But reports are coming out that Broner is more focused on making weight than anything else. It looked like he came into camp relatively out of shape, and his focus is really just being able to get the scales to where they need to be. Once again, I can't substantiate that, but at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me. Because you're looking at a guy here that's made, excuse me, a whole career, missing weight or struggling to make weight. So I think we'll all agree on this. That sure is a career real fast. That's why you get guys like Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Robinson, that were able to fight at a high level, into their 40s and beyond, was because they were always in shape. They didn't get out of shape between camps. They never were killing themselves to lose weight. They were never abusing their bodies with drugs, alcohol, gaining too much weight, things like that. And guys sometimes, abuse themselves, whether it was with, controlled substances, drinking, drugs, etc., or overeating. Their careers tended to be shorter, because the body couldn't handle it, and it aged them.
right. Sorry. Cat's trying to knock the microphone off.
Going into this fight, it's like, Pacquiao's best days are behind him. You know that. That's a fact. You can't sugarcoat that. But at the same time, and you can look at this fight when he fought Lucas Matisse, who's also a well past his prime fighter, had been through a number of wars and this and that. He beat him up pretty good, knocked him down 3-4 times. I don't remember how many times he knocked him down. Then out. But it's like, is it how much Manny has left versus how in shape and focused Broner? Broner's always going to have a puncher's chance, and he's a skilled fighter. The problem is he's an undisciplined fighter, and that will catch up to you.
He's like Floyd Light, is what he is. and if he's coming in heavy, that's going to have a huge effect on his stamina if it goes to the deeper rounds. But the word is from Manny's camp, he's punching harder than ever, and you got to remember too, he took the Matisse fight, he set it up overseas, and he had different promoters. He was able to finally make the split from Bob Arum, Top Rank, which there was some animosity between the two of them, and he barely even gave him the TV rights when they did that fight overseas. So he's in a new place. He's back with Freddie. They feel like they're really strong as a team now. Freddie Roach and Manny, and I think the hype is real on this one. I really do. And Adrian has to get knocked out in the first 5 rounds, I believe, for it to look like people will take any interest in a Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao rematch. He has to perform. He has to rise to the occasion, and he has to back up that hype.
he has to be completely overwhelming and devastating for people to say, maybe he really was hurt in that first fight. Or, you know what, Floyd is, 3.5 years older. You know what, maybe this could be different. But you know what, honestly, it's like, and I'm going to steal a line from the top there. I had a crystal ball last week, and I don't know where it came into my head, but we had talked in the past about a guy like with Mayweather, with his ego, and when he retired the first time 10 years ago, after he beat Ricky Hatton back in 2008, came out there and said, this is done. He was, I think 32 years old, maybe 31, 32. And then a year plus later, he came back to fight Marquez. And then every time it was like, I'm going to retire, but then a fight would come up. And it was always like when someone else's name was starting to be ascending and be on the rise, it was kind of, he would jump back in there. Maybe not always against that guy. Like Manny Pacquiao's name was getting up there for a while, and he was just getting his name back into the equation, so people were starting to talk about him again. Because everybody was talking about Manny. And then Floyd would come out there, and he'd be a guy like Shane Mosley, or he would, be a guy like Fatigue or somebody. And then people would say, he would get back into the equation. I just had a feeling, one of those gut feelings last week, that it's going to be one of these two names is going to be able to entice him back, and it's going to be within the next year. Now he's going to be at 42, maybe 43 years old. But it's either going to be Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. Because those, Errol Spence got a good fight coming up with Mikey Garcia. That's a legitimate fight. But I think Spence's size is going to win that out. He is a big, welterweight. And Garcia's a guy that, a year or so ago was still fighting lightweight. So it's going to be like Errol Spence, a young, talented, good punching fighter, or Terrence Crawford, who's fighting Amir Khan in April. One of those two guys is going to be out there, be the consensus number one pound for pounder, and that's going to pull Floyd into a fight. And that could be where his O finally has to go.
But then again, though, if Floyd's going to make money doing what he's doing, why would he take that much risk?
You know what? And that's a great point. And you know how he likes to dictate everything upon his own terms. And I'm completely correct in that. I just have a feeling that, something's going to stroke his ego. It's going to be something is going to tug at his ego, and that's what's going to do it. Somebody you can't beat Errol Spence for argument's sake, and then maybe Spence against Garcia, and they're like, "What? You can't beat Errol Spence." In fact, you know what? Even in your prime, maybe you couldn't beat Errol Spence. And that's what will happen. It's just something that I just had those gut feelings I had the one night.
All right.
Well, I hope you're right. I just can't imagine if he keeps making money on these one-rounders or, fighting an MMA guy with an 0-0 record, and that kind of money, it would take a big challenge. And, like I said, I hope you're right. I just don't have that strong of a feeling, but put me in my place. If that happens, I will give you the asaha. Good call.
Well, I don't know how I feel about that prediction. I do know Floyd likes to make his money.
Gut feeling, guys.
And I know he likes to make his money. I know he likes easy fights, but he does care about his legacy. So you never know. You never know what might get him to come back. But he's definitely not done. Something will bring him back. $100 million has a way of doing that with Floyd.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, did you guys hear about the other big fight that got signed for May?
May. No.
May 1st? Canelo Alvarez and Danny Jacobs.
Oh, I have not heard about that. Breaking news.
Yeah, I found that at 6 o'clock tonight when I was leaving the gym. T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas on May 4th.
Wow.
6 o'clock.
Wow. That's
Fine. Because Jacobs is a good tough fighter. He's a good puncher. And he's all around skilled. So he has a good. He's an underdog. I know he's going to be an underdog, but he's going to be a very live underdog.
right. Well, finally we have a shitload of boxing events to discuss this weekend. And talk about last weekend, too. Actually, I did watch boxing for once. Caleb Plant and Jose Uzquierque.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, he's very sharp. That was the word I came away with for him. He landed where it counted. He did kind of show the old, the weakness of the shoulder roll when you're not Floyd Mayweather type of defense, with the one hand down. So he did allow Uzquierque a few times to get in the fight, but definitely showed that undefeated record for a reason.
Yeah, and he had power that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, first knockdown was off balance, sort of, but he did connect. The second one was no doubter.
Yeah, and then when Jose got up laughing, and I'm thinking, what kind of what's the word? Cognitive dissonance, I guess would be the right word, right? Dude, there's nothing funny about this. You've lost the first 4 rounds, been knocked down twice. This is not a joke. And I think Jose, the only way to fight a guy like Caleb Plant is to fight him in a phone booth.
Yeah.
The way I seen it, by the 9th and 10th round, Jose had his chances. He had him in that phone booth, but good for Plant for hanging in there. And probably one of the most idiotic calls or comments of the year so far. Someone one of the forums. Well, Plant has to work on his stamina and his cardio. Well, start moving around a bit.
Pretty good to me on that in that category.
Yeah, good for him.
But yeah, that was a good fight. Then we also had Brandon Figueroa notching another win over Moises Flores. Kevin Watts loses to Ryan Carl. Ahmed El Biali beat Alan Green, and Prince Patel beat Ronald Ramos. Those are the results published on Boxrec for last Sunday. Sunday was a big fight night last week. The 13th. Sunday the 13th. Yeah,
that's what it was for Alan Green. You remember, he was a prospect, about 10 years ago? Or 2006? Yeah. 6 years. I think he was on the contender, and it seemed like he really had it going then, but boy, he didn't seem to have anything left. Ugh. Yeah,
ugly. Who beat him really badly? I'm trying to remember. I know he had a big knockout over J. Don Connington, which really got his name out there as a prospect. And I'm trying to remember if it was a loss to Joe Calzaghe, maybe. Really, whoever it was a beating, and he never recovered from that.
And
or you know who it was? It was Edson Miranda. Miranda really beat the hell out of him, and he went distance, but he was literally out on his feet again.
Nice. So we got Friday night fights this week. The weekend starts on Friday. Finally back to boxing. We got down in New York, the Madison Square Garden Theater, Demetrius Andrade. Is that how you say it, or is it Andrade?
Andrade. Whatever you say, as long as you pay me, I don't care.
All right. 26-0, fighting Artur Akavov, who is 19-2 for the WBO World Middleweight title. And we've got TJ Doheny, also undefeated, 20-0, fighting Ryohei Takahashi, who is 16-3-1. Everybody's fighting somebody from another country, it looks like. Jorge Linares, 45-4-0, super lightweight, fighting Pablo Cesar Cano, 31-7-1. And another former guest of ours, Amanda Serrano, 35-1-1, fighting Eva Vorberger, who's 24-5 for the vacant WBO World Female Super Flyweight title. If that ain't enough, we have a welterweight feature fight here with Chris Algieri, 22-3, fighting Daniel Gonzalez, who's 17-1-1. So that's down in New York. I don't know if it's going to be on TV anywhere. But another big one in Verona, New York, on ESPN Plus. Bryant Jennings, 24-2, fighting Oscar Rivas, who's 25-0 for the IBF International Heavyweight title and the WBO NABO Heavyweight title.
It was funny because I was just thinking of Bryant Jennings the other day because he was undefeated when he had the title fight loss to Klitschko. Then he had the stoppage loss to King Kong Ortiz. And I saw him fight a little less than a year ago at Temple University in Philadelphia against a former guest of ours, Joey Dueco. And he struggled. You know, Dueco, for being a short, stocky guy, an accomplished boxer, and really gave Jennings all he could handle. And Jennings just looked so slow. And he won, but it was close. It was like 6 rounds to 4. So it'll be interesting to see how much that's in the tank.
Right. Well, yeah, he's going to get some titles too if he wins. We've got also featherweights in the co-main event. Jesse Chris Rosales is 22-1-1, fighting Shakur Stevenson, who's 9-0. And then super welterweight Carlos Adams with an ES at the end instead of just an S. He is 15-0, undefeated, fighting Juan Ruiz, who is 21-3. Then we have Jason Sosa, 21-3-4, fighting Moises Delgadillo, who is 17-18-2. Looking to get to 500, I guess. And then we have, let's see. What else we got going on? That's it for Friday. Now we're into Saturday. Sure, we're going to have a Jesus fight of the week somewhere. Alright.
And while you're looking up, I did take the time to look up Alan Green's record, and he was undefeated. He had to play with Edison Miranda in 2007, right before Miranda got demolished by Kelly Pavlik. And it was a decision, but Green was down twice in the 10th and hurt pretty bad. And then he had a win over our former guest, Tarvis Sims, by unanimous decision. Then he ran into Andre Ward, lost every round on all 3 cards. Then he lost by stoppage to another former guest of ours, Glenn Johnson. So, like, 2 Hall of Fame fighters back-to-back right there. And then he was pretty much done after that. Came back. Like, the fights with Ward and Johnson were in 2010. And then came back, had a couple fights in 2011, and 2012 got knocked out by Mikhail Tesla in 4 rounds. And then he was going again for a bit. Had a decision loss in 2013, and then he was gone for 5 years before he just came back. And, like I said, one fight in 18, and then he was off for a year, and then got demolished this weekend.
Sounds like he's fighting for money.
Mm-hmm.
Sad.
Yep. Sounds like you're right.
Well,
he looked like it.
I'm going to give you guys some trivia now. You're going to get 10 guesses. What country does the Jesus Fight of the Week come from? You think unlikely countries. Don't think the obvious.
All right. I got.
Strike that answer, Tony. It doesn't count.
I'm going to say Thailand.
Thailand? No. Next.
Philippines. Philippines?
No. One answer each. You got 9 left.
Pakistan.
Nope.
We got 7 to go, Tony. You're up.
How about the Ukraine?
No.
Australia.
No.
Are we down?
No, not even close.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in the wrong continent.
Wrong continent,
The
yes.
wrong continent.
Yes.
Okay, not okay. How about Brazil?
No. Nope.
Are we close?
No.
South Africa.
No.
England.
Oh, you're getting close, but no. Closer in
Ireland.
area. Nope.
Ireland.
Nope. Wrong, still wrong continent, but close. That's all I'm gonna say.
So it's not
France.
It's not.
Not France, no.
It's in the wrong continent. We were in Europe.
Yes, you were in Europe, but not Scandinavia.
Scandinavia. Wow.
Denmark is the country.
Oh, wow.
Something is rotten in Denmark when Jesus fights in the main event.
That's it.
Jesus Sanchez, he is 9-1, fighting Dennis Salen, who is 19-2 for the vacant EBU featherweight title. So I guess they are considered European. But anyway, co-main event there is a female fight, super bantamweights. Dinah Thorsland, 12-0, fighting Alessia Graf, who's 29-7. She has lost 3 of her last 6, though. And that's for the WBO World Female Super Bantamweight title. We also have an interesting one here. Talk about records. These guys, these 2 people have over 100 fights combined. Lolenga Mock at super middleweight, 42-15-1, fighting Matteo Damian Varone, who is 27-21-3. Right smack dab in the middle of that card. You didn't think there was good boxing in Denmark, did you? Yeah, I guess.
Well, that's where that Brian Nielsen used to fight at us sometimes.
Yeah.
He was another one. He used to fight over in Denmark all the time, and he was fighting a lot of well past their prime fighters. And he had like a win over Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was like 50-some years old. He had Tim Witherspoon when he was well past his prime, and he got up to 48 now, and he got knocked out by a guy that was like a woeful underdog. And then he fought Mike Tyson, and Tyson demolished him. I think Tyson's actual last win was over Brian Nielsen.
Right. Well then. So they do have some claim to fame in the boxing realm.
All right, did you also hear, and it's actually fitting that he got announced on his birthday, that Muhammad Ali's birthday today, that they are renaming the Louisville airport after him.
Really?
I saw a post on that today, too. I get to read it. I was at work. But
Muhammad Ali Airport, huh?
Yeah.
Well, this is a shock, but I guess, the UFC turned him away. Convinced him to do other things, but I just realized here down in Billings, Montana, I was looking at the heavyweight fight here in the main event. It's obviously a mismatch. Chauncey, which is a great name for a heavyweight fighter. Chauncey Welliver, 57-12-5, fighting a guy named Michael Birthmark, who is 2-10-1. That's our mismatch of the week right there. And then on the undercard, we have John J. Mount, which is a great name for a light heavyweight MMA fighter, but this is a boxer. He's 4-1, and he's fighting an MMA fighter, Dennis Hallman, who is 1-3. I did not know he boxed at all, but obviously they need a fighter in Billings, Montana. And then, of course, we have the big, huge monstrous card of the week. Showtime pay-per-view, Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Manny comes in with a record of 7 losses to go with 60 even wins and 2 draws. Has lost 2 in the last 6, but obviously He looked very good in his last fight. Adrian Broner comes in at 33-3-1, and he has lost 2 out of his last 6 and tied 1. So this is for WBA World Welterweight title. And I don't know what the Vegas odds are, but I would think they probably favor Manny, just by experience. And if Adrian's having a problem with weight, I would have to predict Manny's going to win this one. He's going to get that knockout before the 6th round. I'm thinking he tries for it, and even if he doesn't get it, he gets a decision.
Boy, that's going to really knock Broner's career back a bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know what?
Just think.
With Broner, it's, as I said earlier, with, his struggles with conditioning, making weight, his poor training habits in the past, that will catch up to you fast. It really will. And I don't know how much past his time he is. He gave a couple of good accounts of himself and losing efforts a few years ago. But, right now it's like, I think he's the type of guy that will get significantly old overnight. And I can see Pacquiao stopping him maybe mid to late rounds. I think Broner will try to make it competitive early, but his legs will go, and he'll man there. And I can see Pacquiao just grinding him down, and then the fight being stopped, or just working him over for a decision. And like I said, it just depends on how much Pacquiao has left and how much Broner does or does not have left.
Well, I think Broner has stuff left, but he is the imitation version of Mayweather, and you're going to get a chance to see what Pacquiao can do against that type of style with a healthy shoulder. So, obviously, I think my theory is that it wasn't just a coincidence that Broner is his opponent prior to the possibility of a rematch with Mayweather. That is more likely to me. Mayweather saying to him, "You get by Broner first, and then I'll fight you," because he even knows that guy's a copycat of him. So if Pacquiao can get by the style of Broner, which is not the same but very similar to Mayweather, then obviously it would make sense to make the rematch. So I really think Floyd was the one that came up with that idea. But I don't know. You can't quote me on it. Well, you can, but it's not confirmed. That's all I'm saying. But I really think that Broner is got too short of a reach. He's got... he probably doesn't have the stamina if he's coming in with weight issues. And Manny is... The only thing he's doing differently now, he said in his conference call the other day, is he's taking a little bit extra days for rest here and there, or time. He won't put any crazy workouts that he used to with, running and sparring the same day, that type of stuff. He'll take more rest in between different activities. So, he's just basically paying more attention to his body. But he still feels like he has it. And I don't think anybody can tell him to sit down until he really starts slowing down. And we definitely will see a lot of whether he's going to be able to keep going or not, and what he does with Broner. And I think he knows that more than anybody else, that this fight is the last chance. If he loses, there's no other chance of making that $150, $200 million payday that will come with the Mayweather fight. Because you got to think about not only payday purse-wise, but sponsorships. It's big money. So I really think he's gonna have the camp in place that knows all that, and he's gonna prepare for that, and he's gonna have him in the best possible shape. And Broner doesn't have a shot. I really don't think you got to say puncher's chance just because he's got muscles and he knows how to punch, but I really think you got to really catch Manny with a huge combination, and I don't think he's going to be slowing down long enough for Broner to hit him. He's going to be busting around that ring, like using every inch of it, and just counter-punching a lot. And if he has the kind of power that Freddie is claiming, harder than ever, anyone's ever hit him, he said in sparring. I mean, in pad work. So, yeah, if that's true, Broner's got something to worry about. He's got a problem. I'm not going to say the round. I'm just going to say before the 6th. Pacquiao is going to take him out, and it goes to decision. And I don't think Broner will. If it goes to decision, I don't think Broner will get his ass kicked, but he's definitely not going to really land a lot of big shots. If it goes past the 6th, I think he's going to be worn out with these weight issues. Pacquiao's going to play with him, like a cat with a mouse. But not a cat in the heat, because they don't play with mice. Co-main event. Roche Warren, 16-2, versus Nordine Ubali, who's 14-0. Badu Jack, also on the card at light heavyweight, 22-1-3, fighting Marcus Brown, who's 22-0. Jack, spelled J-H-A-C-K, Tapora, 22-0 featherweight, fighting Hugo Ruiz, who's 38-4. That one's for the interim WBA world featherweight title. And that's it for the big headlining fights. But what do you guys think about your predictions for this one? For Pacquiao specifically. Before we move on.
I got to go with Manny.
All right. Consensus, I guess.
Are you thinking along the same lines, just Broner, maybe not being in shape or not being disciplined? Or?
He's just too streaky. I mean, you just never know which one's going to show up. And there's also a part of him that may even be just looking past Manny. I mean, if you think of the second coming of Floyd, and you look at the easy time Floyd had with him, I mean, I think it would be idiotic for Broner to think like that, but I think he's capable of doing it.
The big thing for me, too, that I didn't say is the cockiness. I think you take Floyd and you magnify it by 10, the cockiness that Broner has. And with at least with Floyd, you could say it matches his skill. But with Broner, not so much. Especially with 3 losses on his record. And not to necessarily, unbeatable people. So, I don't know. I think it's just really a matter of Manny picked this opponent or Floyd picked it for him because they know that he has to show that he can get by that style. And it's like a poor man's Floyd too, because it's not the unpenetrable shoulder roll type defense that Floyd has. I think Broner's arms are a little bit heavier. He puts his face out there way more often because he's cocky, and he doesn't fight smart. Not as smart as Floyd at all. Yeah,
and furthermore, I mean, I think Manny will be so motivated because he knows there's no tomorrow for him either. I mean, the loser of this fight's really, I won't say finished, but what a setback.
Yeah.
And considering where the fight's at, I think the judges will be smiling at Manning if it goes that far.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Somebody told him. Somebody asked him on the conference call to rank top 5 fights, Manny, as far as preparation for the fighter. And he really snubbed Timothy Bradley, because the interviewer guy was specifically mentioning Timothy Bradley, like that was going to be one of them, and he just passed right over it. He's still bitter about the bad decision, and he doesn't see himself as having lost any round, I don't think, against Timothy Bradley. But he basically said that was an easy fight for him. Both of them. Both fights were very easy. It wasn't a challenge. I don't have the numbers, the guys he named in front of me, but I believe Eric Morales was among them. And Ricky Hatton mentioned. But not Timothy Bradley. And maybe not Adrian Broner if he gets dispatched quickly. We'll see. So that's the big fight of the week. And I'm sure have plenty more next week. And the big MMA fight of the week is obviously UFC Fight Night 143, Cejudo versus Dillashaw. Henry Cejudo comes in with a heavy wrestling background, 13-2 in MMA, and obviously the first person to dispatch and basically instead of loser leaves town fight, it was a loser leaves the UFC fight. In terms of Demetrius Johnson, he lost the belt, and Henry Cejudo didn't really put on a dominant, blow out of the water performance against Demetrius, but the UFC is forever trying to make Demetrius Johnson versus TJ Dillashaw, and Henry Cejudo immediately after getting the belt signed on. He said, "Yeah, I'm game," and so they made it happen. And I'm not sure which weight is it at, Tom. Do you know? Is it at Cejudo's or Dillashaw's?
Yeah, this is tough, but I think TJ's on a roll. No disrespect to Henry, but I'm going with TJ on this.
No, I was asking, what weight is it at? Do you know?
Yeah, 125.
Oh, so it's at Cejudo's weight.
Yeah.
So
Cejudo so TJ wants to be the two-belt champion.
Right. So then only TJ has that opportunity.
Yeah.
Cejudo can just keep his belt.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of unfair. That's a good point, but yeah, that's the way the rules.
So if Cejudo wins, then they would have a rematch probably at TJ's weight.
What, 35? Yeah.
If it's worth having.
So then, and then that way TJ can repay Henry the favor. So I'll give you a chance to be at two belts.
So yeah, TJ is 16-3 coming in, and he's really hands down one of the most dynamic fighters, and he has a chin. And again, cockiness sometimes makes him a little bit risky. Kind of like almost as bad as Holloway's last fight. As dominant as he was with his fists, he stuck his face out there a lot, and TJ has a tendency to do that. So, because Cejudo's more good at wrestling than he is at striking, I don't think he's going to be able to take advantage of that as much as some other people could. And he's got short reach. He's a little stocky guy. So he's going to have to try to keep TJ off the feet. And TJ's not a slouch on the ground either. So I'm thinking TJ's going to be drilling the hell out of his takedown defense. And he's just going to do what he does and move like basically all around the cage and do his little dances with his footwork and just tap, and just punish the face of Cejudo until he can't even see.
And DJ has that speed advantage on the feet.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think Henry's going to have to do a ground and pound. And like you said, TJ's he's not easy to take down. He's not easy to hold down. So I think Henry going to have his hands full. And I like Henry. You can't help it, but look at his story. But got to go with what I feel.
He's a classy guy. He's doing the company thing here, obviously. Doing whatever they want him to do, and obviously trying to make himself some money and name for himself here. But it also says something about that division, the 125-pound division, that he had to immediately go to fight a guy in the above weight class instead of giving someone else in that division a shot, because for so long nobody else even came close to Demetrius, so it's very tough to keep building that division. So we're gonna see what happens, but you also have to consider all these other promotions coming out of woodwork. And, ONE FC getting Demetrius, obviously they're gonna try to be getting opponents for him too. So there might have been a mistake on the UFC's part, just getting one guy out of that and no other consideration. Who knows how long Ben Askren's going to last, or if he's even going to be competitive in the UFC. Sometimes guys think they're all that, and then they get in the UFC and they get destroyed.
Yeah, maybe we'll see what happens this weekend with the co-main event.
Right. Greg Hardy.
I know you're going to have a lot to say about that one, so we'll hold off till you get ready for that.
Greg Hardy in the co-main event. I don't know if he was convicted, but he's charged with domestic abuse, beating his wife. He's fighting a guy named Alan Crowder with a 9-3 record. Greg is flash in the pan here, but very powerful. He's a former NFL player, so he knows how to hit people, but usually he's not supposed to be punching people on the NFL field.
Okay, now have you heard of the dust-up here with Ariel Harlani when we have one of the female fighters, Rachel, who Ostrich?
She's a victim of it.
Yeah, and so Ariel went on First Take, right. I believe. I think he was on First Take and he was ranting and raving, so they asked Dana what he thought of that. And it was just he went full Dana White on the issue. Mm-hmm. Who gives an F what he says? He said, "Who is he? I don't even know who he is." Yeah, it was a classic. You don't think ESPN had anything to do with Hardy being moved up to the co-main event after 3 pro fights, do you? What do you think?
Well, they're obviously trying to go for the controversy factor. I would love to see what Shannon and what's his name have to say about it. Skip. Shannon and Skip are undisputed. That would be a good argument. But that would be assuming that somebody would take the UFC and ESPN side. I wouldn't put this on TV at all. I mean, especially because this is like really his first official fight card. You put him in the co-main event. I don't care if he's from the football world.
Rich. It's not on TV. It's on the pay card.
Right. But I mean, I'm talking on any television.
No, but this is worse.
Yeah.
He's on the co-main event on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, he shouldn't.
Unbelievable.
Shouldn't be even on free TV on the preliminaries. This is one of those things where it should be the first fight of the night. Doesn't get televised. Nobody ever sees it, and it gets drowned in obscurity. But now they're giving this guy the spotlight, and they're giving him a chance to basically call out whoever he wants if he wins this. And he's always going to try to call out somebody big because he wants to make money. He's not making that NFL money fighting in a co-main event even at 3-0.
But I mean, 3-0, he shouldn't be there in the first place.
Right.
I mean, of course the guy's a talented athlete, but let him go to the small shows and rack up some wins there. But I think the way it's done.
Right. And I don't even know any of the details of the case, but I do remember that this was a very contentious case with the NFL. I mean, it was right around the time that Adrian Peterson was suspended for however many games for whipping his kid. It was any little thing, any little issue they were trying to come down hard on. And, so obviously his side of the story was that it wasn't that bad. But it did turn out to be bad enough that they kept him on suspension and then just separated from him. So he had to find other means of employment. Nobody wanted to use him. He's obviously, blacklisted. So, he went into fighting, and he was on the Contender Series that they had there. Not the Contender Series, the Challenger Series, I believe they called it. And he turned some heads. He knocked some guys out, but this is going to be a big step up for him, too. I don't even realize the UFC knows what they're doing. I don't even think they do, because you put him in against a guy who's got that many more wins than losses. This is not going to be a pushover for him. And if you're trying to brand this guy, controversy or whatever, you don't want to put him in against a guy like that. You want to put him in against a guy who's like 1-2. You put him in against a guy like Alan Crowder here, who's got a name and some ability, and you might actually see a halfway decent fight, and probably Greg Hardy can be on the losing end of it. And maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe they're trying to convince him, Greg, that this is winnable, but they know Crowder's going to wipe them out with him, and they're going to show, this is what happens to wife beaters. Who knows? But Greg Hardy's definitely got knockout power, but I just don't think he has the game plan to be the guy who's more of a journeyman and has had that many fights, 12 fights as opposed to 3. But this next one's more worthy of the co-main event. Yancy Medeiros, 15-5, and Gregor Gillespie, undefeated at 12-0.
Yeah, that's intriguing. No one's been able to give Gillespie a fight so far. No one. So this is, Medeiros has a very good BJJ game, so kind of no clash of styles here. This will be fun to watch.
Right. Joseph Benavidez is in the 10th fight tonight. He's 26-5 against Dustin Ortiz, who's 19-7. And we got the female fight, Paige Van Zant against Rachel Ostovich, who's 4-4. And I believe she has been asked about fighting on the same card as Greg Hardy and whether it bothers her. She actually said no. She said it just had nothing to do with me or the issue. It's just he's had a past and now he has a fight. I think it was kind of basically the gist of what she said. But it definitely doesn't bother her. Her issue is her issue, so that's her perspective. Carl Roberson also on this card at 7-1, fighting Glover Teixeira, who's 27-7. And the Cowboy in the 7th fight of the night, Donald Cerrone, 34-11, fighting Alexander Hernandez, who's 10-1. Joanne Calderwood, 12-3, fighting Ariane Lipsky, who's 11-3. It's a 6th fight of the night. Alonzo Menafield, he's 7-0, fighting Vinicius Alves Moreira, who's 9-1. And we got Mario Batista in the 4th fight of the night, undefeated at 6-0, fighting Corey Sandhagen, who's 9-1. Dennis Bermudez in the 3rd fight of the night, 16-9, fighting Tay Edwards, who's 6-2. Bilal Muhammad, 14-2, fighting Jeff Neal, who's 10-2. And then Chance Recounter in the 1st fight of the night, who's 12-3, fighting Kyle Stewart, who's 11-1. And I believe that about does it for our scheduled events. I don't have any other news stories. Let's just check out Trailer Dog real quick. See if we got anything in the news. There's previews and stuff. All the attention's on this UFC fight. And then next week, of course, next weekend, we have Bellator's big start of the year. The final fight in the heavyweight tournament. Emelianenko Fedor, the big Fedor, against Ryan Bader. And I hear they're going to time the Mueller report release right before the fight. Anyway, you guys being affected by the government shutdown at all?
I have
yes.
Really?
Yes, and it's pretty hard to imagine this. Now, I got a professional license as an enrolled tax agent back in 2016, and I thought it was, it's a 3-year thing, so I kind of thought I would get the notice to renew. Well, it was not a 3-year thing. It goes by the last digit of your social, and my license has lapsed into inactivity. So to get it active, I sent my forms in beginning in November, and the IRS kind of works on a special clock. Their own.
Right.
So I was hoping active so I can represent clients in audits. And guess what's happened?
Yeah.
So right now, I can't even advertise with that EA after my name. And the IRS is apparently down to a skeleton crew now. At least I heard they're trying to bring some people back to work for no pay. See how that works out. But it's, I guess, out of every 8 employees, 7 were sitting at home.
Wow.
So look out below for this tax season.
Well, I don't know if you've seen it, but Jimmy Kimmel Live, the talk show there, has been doing, give some of the government employees jobs for the night. They do this segment, right? So I think it was last night or the night before they had a couple of people from the IRS. So of course Jimmy Kimmel asked, does this mean since you guys aren't working that nobody's getting audited right now? So their answer was so classic. We can't comment on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Every time I hear of budget shortfalls or budget impasses where they can't pass the budget or something like government shutdowns, I think back to Air Force Academy freshman year when they did not pass the budget. I think it was like 2 days. So it affected us immediately. Only our stomachs, because it was a big thing. The mess hall was shut down basically. So we came to lunch one day and we literally had Lunchables at every seat. Boxes of Lunchables.
Hey, if you want to hear something hilarious about that, think of the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Yeah.
Because the guards, one guard was complaining that on Christmas Day the inmates had Cornish hens. They really laid out a spread for them. And the guards are getting nothing. I mean, they're going home and eating Vienna sausages and cans of baked beans, I guess, and the inmates were laughing at it. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty horrible. Well, then the Coast Guard thing. The Coast Guard is feeling like they're less of a service now because they're not getting paid. And the ironic thing about that is this whole impasse. In Trump's perspective is about border security, and the Coast Guard is like instrumental to that part of it. But they figured out a way to get them paid finally. But I hear the big hit is going to be taken by the guys that are government contractors because their work is not guaranteed, and if there is ever an opening, then they don't get back pay. So these people that have government contracted jobs that are subcontractors basically that come in and do stuff that isn't always on the books or regular. Those are the guys that take the biggest hits. But I think companies like Uber are making out pretty well. That's one of the most common second jobs people are taking out. How did it affect you, Tony?
Well, I mean, I work for a insurance company, Independence Blue Cross, and I'm on site with our large client, which is a private company. So my paycheck was in there already for tomorrow. So no real effect to me on, sorry for the people it is. I heard today that Trump will refuse to allow Nancy Pelosi to use the government plane to do a trip over to Afghanistan.
Nice.
Yeah, I seen a film of all the Democrats in the rain. I think he even canceled the bus. They didn't even get on the bus. Yeah, I don't think sure.
Love him or hate him, I thought it was kind of funny and not really making his point when he's criticizing Nancy Pelosi for taking a vacation to Hawaii, and he's saying, well, I'm going to stay at the White House. Like the White House is some slum.
In his world, it is, baby.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The world, baby.
I'm going to stay at the White House, do my job. But the big thing there is the national champion Clemson Tigers there got hundreds of burgers as he reached into his own pocket and did that. No other president would do that kind of crap.
Quarterbacks seem to be happy.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, you guys got anything else to add before we call it a night?
No. Anxious to see what happens with this weekend's fight. I'm sure somebody will be streaming it, which I'll try to access.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that aspect of it too. How good will ESPN Plus be at blocking people from streaming illegally?
Well, I'm sure somebody will do a Facebook Live or something. That's what I did with the Canelo Chavez Jr. fight that time. I watched on Facebook Live, and the people who were watching it, their commentary was better than anything else.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't even say it on the air, but I'm gonna because I'm gonna be looking there for it. First Row Sports, all one word, .eu. So far has been the best place to find it. It's not the best place to view it sometimes because you have to deal with a shitload of pop-ups. But once you figure it out, sometimes they try to hide the little X's so you have to close the windows. Once you figure that out and get it to stream, you get a good stream. It's usually fairly decent. And the good ones are usually, for the boxing, are usually in the UK. Because they can't shut that down. It's like free UK TV that they pay for cable. I mean, it's not free, but it comes with their cable subscription. It's not like pay-per-view for them. It just comes with it. So, anyway, I think it's BT Sport is the network, and that always comes in great. That's why I'm always like, whenever there's a British fight, and I'm watching it, I'm always for the British guy, because I'm listening to the British announcer. But anyway, yeah, they do a good job. So, FirstRowSports.eu is going to probably redirect you to some other place because it's overseas in Europe. But, yeah, they get away with it. They do all kinds of sports. I mean, football, MMA, boxing, cricket, probably, if you wanted to see that. Check that out if you can't find it anywhere else. And, Layla says good night.
But enjoy the fights this weekend. Go, Manny. Make our predictions.
I second that.
Yeah, I think he's gonna do it. I really got a good feeling about it, and hype seems to be real this time. So I'm actually more excited about the rematch between Floyd than I was about the first one. Him and Floyd. I think we get a rebirth here, and I think maybe Floyd might have lost maybe a half a step.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't look it
Right.
in the tension fight there, but
Let's worry about that after Saturday night.
yeah, we're not looking through the problem.
That's it. All right, guys. Next week, enjoy the fight.
All right.
All right.
See you later, guys.